Good morning, garden friends. Today is about reflecting on this past season. I have the pleasure of collaborating with Cara from Bluebird Homestead and along with Betty from Simply Southern Garden. And Betty D, she is the administrator for the Facebook page, the Dunwoody Garden Club. And this is the thing. With gardening, there are highs and lows. And one of the things that I have come sorta to grips with stages in which my garden is. I sometimes strive for perfection, and in that process sometimes lose sight of what I am trying to accomplish, and also truly being able to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Now, mind you, the fruits of my labor, it does bring me joy, but it's teaching me to set boundaries. I should not be out planting when it's dark. Is understanding the plants that you choose to put in your garden. Sometimes pretty can get you right in trouble. And I ended up having that situation of not knowing that the shrub that I wanted to have in my garden was aggressive. And to offset it, what I did was I dug it up and I put it in a pot to help control the growth pattern. We had a really bad storm here in Georgia, and it for a moment hit me hard based off of the damage that was done. But the reality is it's fixable, and not to get hung up on those things. The other thing is, let me show you guys this. Now, while I know this is a season for leaves falling, because of that striving for perfection and pristine of my garden, I was constantly blowing out leaves on a daily basis because my neighbor's trees had not finished dropping its leaves. And I think the one thing that I've learned is this is okay, aside from the fence being down. That's part of the damage that ended up happening, the winter storm that we had. But just being okay with, the leaves being in the beds. I try to justify the fact that I'm putting bulbs down as a reason for wanting the leaves out of the bed. But I was spinning my wheels. And I think that's the lesson that I am learning. Stop spinning your wheels on things you have no control over. I have no control over when all leaves are going to fall, and just come to the realization, deal with it, or change your timing for what you are going to be doing in your garden, and just really being okay with that. The other thing that I want to mention in regards to maintenance, some individuals end up having someone come in and manage their garden, which that's fine, but for those of us that do our gardens ourselves, it's about pacing. Just pacing yourself so that you don't get burned out, or it doesn't become, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes 2 weeks. So pace yourself so that you are still getting enjoyment out of what you're doing. And I think too, when you're willing to learn and embrace those lessons, especially when it comes to, how your garden looks. A true gardener works in their garden or doing some type of maintenance in their garden majority of the season, because if it's not planting new things, it's thinning things out, it's adding compost, the fertilizer during the proper time of the season, putting mulch down. So I think with me changing my mindset of thinking everything needs to be done all at one time. As my husband says to me, Rome was not built in one day, even though I tried to make my garden completed in one day. But like I said, just a realization of stopping and truly enjoying your garden. Because throughout my garden, you know, I have like different spaces to just sit and look at the beauty of it. And I know one of my subscribers had commented on being able to have different areas in the garden to enjoy it. And I just need to heed my own words. The other thing, lesson learned, I tend to push the envelope in regards to plants, you know, and, you know, that's part of gardening, experimenting. It may not always be a success, but at least that's something that I could check off my list and say, hey, you know what? Didn't work. I tried, and keep it moving. And a good example is my Scotty heather. It is not for our zone, but I still planted it. But, and that's the key, we just recently got changed to zone 8. And based off of the specs, the heather can survive in zones 8 through, I think it said 8 through 11, you know. So I am going to pray for the best that the 2, and that's all I got was 2, to see how well they end up doing. The other lesson learned, because of me liking to experiment with plants, I buy them small. I am not that instant gratification gardener, you know, to where, you know, you just get it big and you got that full display. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I look at gardening as a way to hone in on my skills and also learn from my failure, to know that I've done everything properly in order for, you know, the plant to end up flourishing. Other things that I have learned, and, you know, just want to share with you guys, you know, anyone who wants to start gardening, no matter how small or large it is, I do think it ends up adding value not only to Mother Earth, but also to your life. Individuals garden for different reasons. Yeah, you have individuals that garden for physical therapy. You have individuals that garden for just emotional health. Whatever reason that you decide to garden, do what you love. And I think that's the thing. Don't worry about what somebody else has or what somebody else is doing. Do what you love, you know, because that's how you will get the most joy out of gardening. So those are just some of the things that I have learned this year in regards to my garden. While there has been a lot of projects that we have taken on in our garden, I'm always looking at other ways to just enhance the feel of my garden, because it does bring me joy. So with that said, those are some of the lessons that I have learned this year when it comes to my garden. And I hope it ends up inspiring you to, you know, go ahead, put your foot, your little toe, if that's all you want to do, into nurturing the soil, the plants that you want to have surrounding you. So with that being said, let me go ahead and share with you Betty D's lessons learned for this season.
Good morning, gardeners. Deborah asked me to do a video and tell you what I've learned this year about gardening. Well, the answer is not much. I've been gardening a very long time, but what you learn isn't so much important as what you relearn as you go along. Let me give you a couple of examples. One of the things you need to focus on is how something will look from the primary window in your house. This window perfectly frames this path, which my mother ages ago deemed the path to nowhere. So even on a very cold day, there's something to see from the inside window. Another good example is that I put in this arbor. Now, I know we've all wanted to spend a ton of money on a very pricey arbor, but I didn't want to do that. It just didn't seem right. So I bought an inexpensive plastic one, and then I painted it brown. And this frames the lower area of my garden pretty well. And I like it. It makes me feel good when I see it, and I think it's kind of pretty. I also learned that, once again, that not every gardening experiment that you want to do works. For instance, these were supposed to be some very fancy clematis, and I got nothing. These things happen. I even had spray painted my tomato cage to support it in the blue color it was supposed to be, but I never got anything. Another lesson I learned is that while it is true that gardeners don't let other gardeners plant annuals, you do want some annuals for color. And the one that I missed the most this year was that I did not order or plant any dahlias. Swan Island is a fabulous site for dahlias, and I wish I'd ordered more. What else can I tell you? I was injured last year. I had a rotator cuff tear and had to have surgery, which kept me out for 6 months or so. Maybe not quite that long, but it seemed like it. And since my family did not want to plant anything or help me in the yard, I hired somebody. Alicio does the mowing and blowing so that I have time to focus on the parts I want to do. And even though it is a bit of an expense, I find that while I miss the simplicity of doing that chore, it's nice to come home and have that done so that I can go outside and plant. Well, that's about all I learned this year. But I love gardening. I love the connection that it makes with other people. And one last thing. When we're gardeners, one of the things we need to do is help people who care not at all about the outside world to find some connection to it. I was in the woods behind our house, and one of the neighbors had clear cut their yard and stacked logs up to about 5 feet deep and 5 feet high. And as a result, there's going to be no mature trees in their yard, and nothing will benefit from the trees. Squirrels won't have places to go. So it is our job to provide not the facts and figures. We all know that telling people facts does nothing, but to help people create an emotional connection to our natural world. And we can do that by showing them tiny little pretty things that we've done, or have them come over and help us plant daffodil bulbs. I have about 250 to go on the ground if anyone wants to come help. But I think if we don't encourage other people to enjoy gardening, we are going to lose a lot of our natural environment. And with climate change, we've already lost a lot, and I don't want to lose any more. So, that said, hang on. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. It's Hanukkah. Be a light for all the friends you have. Happy New Year. Happy gardening. Bye-bye.
All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed those lessons learned. Cara from Bluebird Homestead, and along with Betty from Simply Southern Garden. I'm going to attach their link to their video in my description. Thank you again for visiting Inspiring Garden Corner. We hope that these lessons learned has added value to your garden journey. And if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to us all and liking our page. Have a great day.